Welcome to The Middle, a podcast about that messy middle in between job loss and the comeback, told by people who've lived it. From CEOs to veterans, athletes to analysts, we talk to folks navigating the unexpected turns in their careers and what comes next when the plan falls apart. These honest conversations will move you, make you think, and maybe even inspire you to leap into something new. Because behind every career pivot is someone just trying to figure it all out. So Candice, thank you for coming on. For listeners that may not know you yet, how do you introduce yourself and the work that you do?
Well, so my name is Candice Van Dertholen, which nobody can pronounce. It's totally fine. My maiden name wasn't any easier either. But I am a holistic practitioner. I practice root cause healing and energy medicine. So I really try to approach things from such a grounded state, because what I found is most often people are thinking of spiritual work as very woo-woo. And not that I don't love all of the things, but really when we're coming into this work, we're really getting into some of those deeper experiences. And so it's not necessarily all light and fluffy and easy. And so I really try to help people feel safe to do the work that they're here to do in the inside.
For people that may not know what energy healing it is, how do you explain what it is and what it isn't?
I love this one. So everything in our world has energy, and that we can prove in science, right? Like we know that energy is a thing. And the way energy works is to help us connect in with the energy flow that is going through our body. And how I do this is I look at each of the energy centers. They're also called the chakra system. And each one of those is related with a different area of the body, a different organ in the body. And each one combines together to make your energy signature. So how you resonate in the world. When I'm looking at the energy centers, I'm looking at what are the foundational elements within them? So the root is all about our foundation. So our safety, our security, our environment, our community, what we believe about all of those things. The sacral is our creativity, our birthing energy, our passion, purpose, desire, emotion. It's a big center. It's why it's the most complex one. But then you have the solar plexus, which is your personal autonomy, your will, power, like what you're here to be and do in the world. Then as you go up, it's the heart space, which is your conscious connection. It's how you look at others. It's how you hold compassion, love, and understanding for yourself and then others. And then you have the third eye, which is your vision. So your vision for life, your intuitive understanding, how you really interpret your world around you. And then your crown is your conscious connection. So whether you call that God, universe, creator, the divine, and all of these come together to create who you are and what you believe in the world also. And so energy work essentially helps you come back into the state of alignment that you want to be in. We go through different life experiences that will call in the same energy signatures all throughout our life. When we don't process through different experiences in our life, it creates an energy signature within our body, and that resonates until we actually work through it. So, example of this looks like feeling like you were maybe minimized as a child or told you couldn't do something a certain way, so you cut off your creativity. Well, then you come into your work environment where you're having the same energy, where your boss might belittle you or tell you can't do things a certain way, or maybe you're in a relationship, same thing. You really don't feel like an equal. So there's different experiences that will repeat or create cycles in our life. And so what energy work is doing is to help you see those things and then choose differently.
I once heard a phrase, you have to feel it to heal it, which basically was saying you can't, when you go through something, if you shove it down, if you try to compartmentalize it, if you try to ignore it, it is going to continually come back until you have to just say, you just have to process it. You have to work through it. You have to feel it to heal it. And that has stuck with me for several years. So Candice, is there good or bad energy?
Oh my gosh. I love this question because people ask it all the time. And what I have to say is that energy is not good or bad innately, not in my opinion. It is, the actions to which we take in our life that make energy so. So, every emotion that we experience is a signal in our body. So, anger, frustration, all these things, they're not bad. They're literally signals in our body to tell us that something's out of alignment, that we're processing through something, or that we need to take action for something. And so, while I don't think that energy is good versus bad, it's literally what you do with that emotion or the energy of that emotion that really can make it non-supportive for our collective community, or bad if you want to say bad. But
How, and keep me honest, your journey into this work was not very straightforward. So, how did you discover this work? What in your life led you to where you are now?
the shorter version is that I struggled with mental health my entire life, pretty early on as a teenager. And, back when I grew up, we didn't really talk about any of this stuff. So it was just kind of like toughen up, get through it, do the things. A lot of people that are my age or older are very hyper independent. So we did things on our own. And that's just kind of what we grew up as a culture, really feeling like we had to do. And so I went my entire life without getting the right medical help or attention and just really, really struggled. And so there was one pivotal moment in my life where I just really I didn't want to be here anymore. My life was just really complicated and complex and chaos. And I just nearly gave up. And so it was in that moment that I decided I never wanted to be in that place again. And so that would start my journey into the inward journey. Now, how I got into energy work is actually all by chance. Like everything in life, I think always comes when it's meant to. But, to give a picture, my husband's in the military, retiring out this next year. And we had moved from Washington State to Virginia during the height of COVID. And I, at the time, worked for Anytime Fitness. So, as you can imagine, my job was very non existent during the height of the pandemic. So, I was, forced into learning to do something else. So, I got into emergency pet medicine, did that for 2 years. And all the while, I was like really seeing the mental health struggle within that organization because they did emergency and specialty pet care, which is not anything like human medicine. It's just a whole different world. That whole time, I was joking with my husband. I was like, I'm going to go work for a yoga studio. I'm not going to do anything stressful ever again. And what did I end up doing? I ended up helping launch a yoga studio, and it was very stressful, but it was actually very rewarding too. So it was then that I met my practitioner, and it was like the first session I had. I was like, this is the missing piece. Like I had done all this therapy, and I'm a huge advocate for that too. But it was like I felt like I'd only gotten so far. I kind of felt like I was continuing on these same cycles and patterns over and over. And sometimes I would actually, quite frankly, feel like garbage after going into therapy. I'm like, oh man, I feel like I just got hit by a train. And so energy work helped me move through the experience, which was what I really needed.
Do you think that there's always been this type of work, but kind of to your point where we didn't talk a lot about mental health 10, 20, 30 years ago, and it's risen more in popular society? Do you think the same has been there for energy work and it's just risen more? Or do you think it's a more of a newer thing because there's more awareness of and more acceptance of mental health?
I was talking with one of my clients who's actually a therapist, and I was like, what's funny? I think energy work is like the new therapy and that it's very taboo. Like people back in the day didn't want to say they were going. Everybody benefited from going, and it was like a hush hush thing. And I see that a lot in my work. Like I work with a lot of professionals who might not outright say they're coming into energy work, but they love the work itself. And it really doesn't matter if we're talking about it. It's more a matter of getting started with the practice. So to go back to your question, I think it's that It's really depending on how you're talking about energy work, first of all. And I tend to talk about it in a very different way because of who I work with. So I work with people who are brand new to this work. And so if I come out with all of the woo, then people would never show up. But if I can help like slowly guide people into this practice, then we can actually get started. And so I think the rise in awareness of how we are struggling as well, especially in America as a nation, right? We're struggling in so many different areas. I think with that, and then the science has really been starting to support all of the esoteric practices. Now, mind you, it's been around for a long time and they've been studying this for decades. But it's only now that they're actually starting to put out those different scientific studies. Like, example, Diary of a CEO, go look at his, like, I think last fifth episode back or something. He had a woman that's a neuroscientist who was communicating with her deceased husband who wanted to prove it from a neuroscience perspective. So we're starting to
I
see
have to go listen to
science
that episode.
improving. Yeah, it's super interesting. But that's the thing is like all of this is starting to come forward more and more. And I think that as we shift out of being so afraid of what it is and actually just get to know what it actually is, there is that acceptance piece. And the more and more people talk about it, the easier it is for people to see themselves doing the work too.
You talk about all these different energies, especially where we may feel the same energy as what we felt in a previous situation. Are we subconsciously attracted to these situations where we have the same energy? Is it a conscious attraction?
It's definitely subconscious because you don't recognize you're doing it. Meaning, like a primary example, I had a client that I was working with, and she was practicing as a physician in trauma care, and the environment itself was very chaotic, very busy, very on the go, very cluttered. Okay. And you pay attention to how I'm describing this. So then she goes in and does her own thing, and her home office was filled with a bunch of chaos and clutter. And so she's like, I can't really focus. I don't understand why. Like, it feels very chaotic and cluttered. And I asked her, I said, where else in your life did it feel like this? And she's like, oh my gosh, I felt it when I was practicing as a clinician. And so even just having the awareness is the first step in helping you heal. Then on the energy level, we just go in and we clear that energetic pattern and signature, the remembrance within your cells that this is what I want. And what that did is like, she's literally like always telling me how much stuff she's cleared out of all the things. She's like, I donated this and I sold this and I did this. And guess what? Her client base built in her new business as a result. Because when we have excess energy in the form of anything or something that we haven't dealt with, we can't call in something new if we have what is old. So if there's no energetic capacity, we can't have anything else come in. And so in alleviating the stress and the anxiety energy, she was able to call in more flow, more balance, more clients. It's pretty interesting when you think about that though, right? Like it's trippy when you start looking at the different patterns that you have. You're like, oh, dang.
Either in your personal experience or with your clients. Like, is this alignment something that people can physically experience? Like, can they tell either when they are out of alignment or in alignment?
Okay, yes. So I was just talking about this over the weekend. So when we have a sensation in our body, like a lot of people experience being out of alignment in their heart because the heart is connected to so much. It's connected with our external world, our internal world, and it is like almost like a secondary navigation system outside of our intuition. And so when you have like a tightening in your chest or your stomach starts to turn, there's a couple of ways you can look at it. Sometimes it's familiar and it's asking you, okay, this is familiar, is this unsafe? Okay? And that means like I'm having anxiety, this is a no, I need to back up. Or is it unfamiliar and you're having anxiety because you can't predict it? So when you're thinking about being in alignment, you shouldn't really have like a huge, distinction as far as Like you should be able to tell if this is a yes, if this is a no. And if you have a struggle with that, then that's an intuitive understanding. That's you not being able to see yourself fully or trust yourself fully in making decisions. So that's one element of it. When we know who we are and we're really grounded and rooted in that understanding, then it's really easy to decide when things are in or out of alignment because you can physically feel it. You can physically feel it. But if you're out of alignment internally, then it's really hard to decipher that information because you're naturally processing the external world all the time. And so again, it goes back to really knowing yourself will be able to have that distinction and will be able to like help you see if you're in alignment or not. Otherwise, it can be really challenging because again, it goes back to trusting yourself and being like so crystal clear on what it is you want that, yeah, you can easily be able to pick up those signals.
How can energy healing and how can knowing what our energy is help rebuild our identities when we're lost or uprooted, when we're going through that forced change and we're like, I don't know who I am anymore?
That was a big part of my own journey was I got to this point where I was like, I don't even know who I am. It was a really uncomfortable feeling because in the middle of transition and change and identity work specifically, I work with a lot of identity work because a lot of times we are living our lives based on everybody else's expectations of where we should be, whether that was, our parent or a teacher that was like, oh, you're really great at this. And then you go after the thing and you hate the thing. Or you go after the degree and you're in it and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate the work environment, whatever it is. And so when we're coming in to know ourselves, it's a little bit uncomfortable because again, you got to feel safe to do the work, right? To like find out who you are, which a lot of people don't like looking at themselves in my experience because we don't always like who we are. But you have to take a look at all aspects of ourselves when you're looking at identity because you're building the pillars and the foundations of what you believe about yourself, about your life, about what you really desire out of life. And so that can be a lot. In doing the inner work to figure out who you are, you then align to what you actually want next. Instead of going for the quick, easy thing, which is what a lot of us do. Tons of people go through, especially right now, going through job transitions and all of that. It's super easy to cling to whatever comes your way. And yet, when we realize and take a step back that we truly have deeper choice, it then gets to be a slightly bit easier in finding that next opportunity.
And I think this effort to do the uncomfortable work and figure out who we are and what we want, you don't have to have lost your job to do that. And you don't have to have lost your job to internalize this idea of scarcity when it comes to work. The American Psychological Association did a survey that I saw in late May, and something like over half of American workers said job security has a significant impact on their stress levels at work right now. So I think whether you're quiet cracking, as they call it, or you've lost your job, there's this temptation to just go through the motions and take whatever you can get.
And like forced change is never easy. Let's just be real there. Like forced change is unsettling. There's all the things that go through our mind and it can put us in that state of panic. And I say that because when you go in to put in an application, when you go in to have an interview, if you are centered in your energy, you put that energy into the application and the interview. Like we resonate and we put out energy in all the ways. And so we can help set things up for better success. I'm not saying that that's the only thing that gets you a job, but if you're very intentional with like, I'm very confident in how I'm approaching this interview, you will nail it, right? Like just tuning into your own energy. Because if you give off the energy of scarcity, like I'm so desperate, I'll take anything, they might come back with a lower number. They might not come back at all. But if you are grounded in who you are, then you can communicate what you need to in a way that they're like, I want to hire that person.
You mentioned earlier that a lot of listeners might think energy healing is woo-woo, or they might roll their eyes a little bit at it. What is the biggest misconception you run into in your work, and what's the truth?
So a lot of people think that all energy work is a bunch of sage circles and rituals. And while, yes, there are different practices and rituals available, energy work is more about finding oneself and being able to sift through the various layers. And sometimes that can be complex, but in having the support of source energy, so that's what all energy work is essentially asking for support, okay, for the body to physically heal, for the emotions to physically heal. In doing that work, it opens your life in a new way. And so the misconception is that it's, very woo woo, that you have to like have a sage bundle to be a practitioner or, like go out into the woods for a century. And really, it's about slowing down and being within yourself and being able to work through these various layers.
Does someone have to be spiritual to benefit from what energy healing offers?
No, actually, some of the people that I work, like I said, I work with people who are brand new to this practice altogether because energy work isn't a religion. It's not anything that you have to conform to be a part of. It's literally just tuning into yourself. Everything in energy is about intention and belief and integrity. So if you're coming into this work, it's about the belief of what it can do for your body. It's about connecting in with this energy that is literally all around us and about really thinking about how is this serving the collective? How is it serving me? And again, you don't have to overcomplicate it. It could be as easy as paying attention to your breath. It can be as easy as thinking about what you're eating consciously. So we heal in everyday moments, everyday conversations.
How can someone know that energy healing is going to work for them, especially if they have tried other avenues like therapy or things like that?
Yeah, so a lot of people that are coming into this practice now have literally tried everything. And they feel really stuck in their lives. They feel really disconnected or like, is this really all there is to it? And they're either living in burnout or very close to it because they're just on the go. And the reason why we stay so active and moving is because slowing down makes us have to look at things. COVID was a prime example of that. Anybody who had never been at home for longer than a day really struggled with that because it was like, oh, everything's taken away from me. I can't do anything. And what am I going to do? And now I have to look at, and guess what? The dog is sick and I don't like my marriage and my kids are acting crazy. All of the anxiety coming out because they're like, holy crap, I haven't stopped to look at my life in like a decade or two or more. So being busy is one way to not deal with what you're dealing with on the inside. So that's one sign to know that you might be ready for this kind of work. Running is a perfect example, or walking up a flight of stairs. When you're doing that motion and you're active, 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 the moment you stop, your heart doesn't just stop. Like it takes time to slow it back down. And that's what energy work does, is it helps you slow back down and get used to not having to be so busy and not having to be on the go so that you can sit with, oh, maybe my dog is sick and I need to deal with this instead of having the chaotic energy behind it.
If someone listening is in the middle of their own life change right now, what's the very first step they can take to shift their energy besides calling you?
Well, the very first thing is to acknowledge what is and to acknowledge what wasn't. So I say this often. We grieve what wasn't more than we think. So because we have different aspirations and dreams and goals and things, when something shifts all of that and shakes the foundation, we aren't processing that. We're literally grieving the things we thought we were going to see happening. And so really being able to acknowledge what you're actually experiencing instead of just moving on to the next thing really quickly just to fill the hole, fill the void, that will help you make clearer decisions and help you actually place boundaries in your life going forward for whatever position you bring in. And so acknowledging where you're starting is one of the biggest things because it gives you the ability not to carry that forward, not to, and that might take a while. Like, prime example, my husband literally found out 2 weeks ago now. So he's been in the military, 31 total years service, and then 21 years active. And he found out that he's going to have to early retire. That was not on our game plan. He had 4 years left. It's a transition that we're both going to face. So starting where you're at is like the biggest thing you can give to yourself. If we just sit with it for a minute and we acknowledge how we're feeling and we rage whatever, like feel all the things, then we can actually like have a clear head and like start thinking, okay, now here's what I need to do. And the second thing is to really tune into your energy. You can literally like take your two hands, feel energy between it, and you'll feel it. You can feel it instantly flowing between you. And you can like move it back and forth, all the fun things, but then put it into your heart. Literally like hold your heart center and feel how you're feeling and allow like this energy flow. If you can just imagine the sun beaming through your entire body and just hitting into the roots of the earth and coming back up and remembering that you are divine, first of all, and that you will make it through this, that you are safe and you are supported. Just tuning in to feel that, then start to go look for the things that you want next. Doesn't mean it's going to turn around tomorrow, right? But it's that you are supported in this process.
Do we know we're on the right path?
Yes, we will have things get super easy the more in alignment we are. And that's the challenge. We're so conditioned to think that life has to be hard and it has to be a hustle struggle and like, but I'm here to tell you, like, things in my life have gotten so much more, as they call it, in flow. Doesn't mean that I'm not putting effort in. I want to be very clear. Like, we're not just like, again, if you could see me, I'm like holding my hands up, meditating, because I'm like, it doesn't happen just like that. You have to effort, you have to do the things, but it doesn't mean that it needs to cause you burnout to be successful. It doesn't have to cause you to have zero life to be successful. And it can be that simple and easy that things align because you're choosing yourself. You're choosing to do the things you know that you are good at, that you enjoy, that bring you joy. And that's why it comes to you easily, because it's like, yeah, I told you to go do this. Go do it. Here you go. I'll make it super easy. Just get it done, you know? And it is reframing that it doesn't have to be hard, right? That's the biggest thing, is we think that life has to be this huge hardship, challenge, and struggle to equal that we're on the right path. And it's like, yeah, there might be parts of it that are hard, but when you start having these things happen, the number one thing that people say is like, when's it going to fall? That's the usual thing people are asking, like, as these things are aligning, when's it going to crumble? When are things going to like fall apart? And it's like, well, no, it's not, because you're on the path that you're meant to be on. It doesn't mean that you won't get redirected or have things that challenge you a little bit. But when you are truly in alignment, doing the things that you desire, everything is a byproduct of that. Everything starts to flow in.
My last question for you before we hit our lightning round. You said you have gone through transitions. You're a military spouse, which we haven't even touched on, and we could spend a whole other episode talking about that. But if you could go back and speak to yourself in one of your hardest transitions, what would you tell her?
So one of the things that I would say is continue to trust that you're making the right decision. Because in one of my hardest transitions that I had to really stand up for myself. And that's not something that a people pleaser does very well, you know, and or healed people pleaser, whatever you want to label it. But the point is like that was a really big challenge, and I knew it was no longer aligned, and I had to like really go outside of my comfort zone to stand up for what was right. And I would just tell myself to trust in that decision, and that it would get a lot easier in the end. Because that was the thing, is like I stayed doing the thing when I knew it was out of alignment, and it did not serve me.
Well, Candice, we are at our lightning round, which I think, as you know, and everyone else knows, I don't share these questions in advance. So I have a couple lightning round questions for you. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. What is one thing you own that you should really throw out?
One thing I should own that I should really throw out. Oh my gosh, like I'm trying to think.
You're a military
You
spouse.
know,
You can rattle this off.
So I would say more so it's what I keep that I could get rid of because like I'm a candle person. Like I'll get all the candles and then I really like the jars. And I'm like, I'll one day reuse this cool jar. And then I have like 12 of them sitting right there that I have not used.
I think we've all done that with something.
Mm-hmm.
What was your last Google search?
Oh gosh, what did I Google last? Should I look and see what my last Google search is? That would be more fun to actually
You can
look it up.
you can look. You can look.
All right. Oh, DSL internet providers. That's funny. Little. Oh, just laughing at that.
Your internet sagas never end.
Never.
What is your favorite movie?
Okay, so I have a couple, but Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken. It's an old Disney movie that has this horse diver, Sonora Webster.
Yes.
I always thought I would be Sonora, you know. I was just waiting on it to happen. So
Speaking one to like my millennial heart, but also I was obsessed with that movie as a little girl. I was obsessed with any horse movie because I rode horses, all that when I was little. So like Black Beauty, if it had a horse in it, I was watching it. So yes,
yeah,
that was a great
same.
movie. What is your favorite thing to eat on Thanksgiving?
Stuffing. I am a stuffing person. I have to have it. If it's not there, then it is not Thanksgiving.
Homemade or like stovetop stuffing?
Oh, if I can get homemade, that is the best. That is the best. I will take stovetop, but I'm more Pepperidge Farms if we got to go that way. But I love homemade.
If you could time travel for one moment in time, where would you go?
So I think I would like to go to the like Victorian era where you had to like wear all the really, really fancy clothes, you know? Like, I don't know why I feel like I need my ribs to die a little bit, but yeah, like, yeah.
I was going to say you are brave to pick an era with like corsets, but
Yeah.
that, like, I get it. The dresses are
Yeah.
fun. You're limited to 3 condiments for the rest of your life. What are they?
Okay, salsa for sure. I'd have to say ketchup. And I love this I put it on everything. What is it called? It's like that Chinese red sauce, like the spicy chili stuff.
Sriracha?
Not sriracha. It's like the chili paste type stuff that's really hot. Like almost like it should be illegal to eat. I'll
Oh,
have to show you something. Yeah.
I'll have to look it
But
up.
those would be my 3. Like I like hot stuff.
So,
Ketchup is like universal. Like if everything else has to go, I mean.
it is. What is a TV show you've seen every episode of?
Okay, so this might surprise some of y'all, but I have seen Game of Thrones 4 times. And I was a COVID watcher. So I didn't even like they were doing the season finale and I'm just getting started.
I have seen the very first episode of Game of Thrones, and that is it. I've never seen an episode past that.
Yeah, you either really like it or you don't. It's like there's no in between.
What is the best kind of French fry?
I would have to say Chick-fil-A. And they just the waffle fries because you know they're wide, they're thick, they ketchup goes on there really really well. Like has all the elements.
I've been waiting for someone to answer not just waffle fry, but the Chick-fil-A waffle fries. Do you have a party trick?
That would mean that I'm actually a fun person. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, a party. I don't have like one off the top of my head. Outside of like if I really, really want to show people, I can write backwards, but I don't really have like a party trick. That's just a weird, unique thing that I figured out in like 3rd grade being bored.
I would call that a party trick. Like that. I don't know too many people that can do that.
Yeah, I don't know why I can't either. That's ADHD at your finest, sitting there in class.
And my last lightning round question is, what is a fact that you learned recently?
So we are born with the 30% desire in our brain. They can spot it in our brain. 30% desire to connect with something outside of us that we consider a higher source. And the other 70% of that development is environmental. It's actually in the book by, oh my gosh, now, of course, because I'm on the spot. Hang on one second. Dr. Lisa Miller, The Awakened Brain.
Well, Candice, before we close out, where can people find you?
So I'm most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. LinkedIn, I'd really just love to meet with people and have conversations. Same thing with Instagram. I just always joke that Instagram is like the best way to stalk my life to see if you like me because I'm usually on there.
Candice, thank you for coming on. I know for a lot of people, energy healing may be new to them or may not be something that they think is beneficial. But I believe that when you're in the middle of a transition, there's no right way to do it. And more importantly, I think we all want to come out of our transitions better. We want to be a bit better than who we were when we started. We want to be smarter. We want to be wiser. And there's no one way to do all those things. It takes curiosity. It takes exploring new things. And I just want to thank you for coming on and giving people another way to learn about themselves and helping them figure out something that they can add to their toolbox that will help give them the life that they want.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Middle. If today's story resonated with you, drop a subscribe, share the episode, and let's keep these conversations going. Until next time, remember, your story isn't over. You're just in the middle.